Hello and welcome back. Uh, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Dear Football Fans in our series 21 Weeks of Prime, where we're talking about all things, Coach Prime's new book, um, you know, Elevate and Dominate 21 Ways to Win on and off the field. Previous week, we've talked about chapter one, and also we've talked about the forward page and some of the insights that we've been able to garnish from those chapters. So today we're going to be talking about chapter two, right? So make sure you get yourself a book, get yourself some pens so you can annotate and you can read along with us in this series. So we're going to be doing this every Friday just for 30 minutes. Right? We're going to just basically read before we come on Friday and just try to decipher read between the lines and decipher what exactly our mentor, Coach Prime, in this book is trying to educate us. So join us as we go ahead and break down chapter two. So chapter two is titled "Set Your Own Thermostat." Right. So basically, when you sort of like take that as face value, literally set your own thermostat, meaning, you set your own regulator, right? Whatever it is that you set your own temperature. It's sort of what I garnish that to be. And as you're going about your daily life, if you're setting your own temperature, that means you know when to be hot, when to be cold, when to be mild, and when to just turn it off completely, and stuff like that. So, but Coach Prime in his book talks about how your mornings are important. And as we just said, if we're setting our own temperature, the way we set our temperature in the morning is certainly important, right? It's the foundation of our day, and whatever thermostat we start with is how our day can influence the rest of our day. The saying of when people ask you what side of the bed did you wake up on, right? It's mean in some cases it means like, hey, your thermostat might be set way too high or way too low, depending on what the scenario or what the expectation is in that regards. So if you're looking at chapter two, which is starting on page 7, Coach Prime further down said, setting the thermostat for the day is more about setting yourself up for success, right? So meaning how you start your day, how you allow yourself to be able to set that foundation, right? Is going to level you up and set you up for success. In the military, as some of us or some of you know, one of the things that they do is they make sure that whenever they wake up, they have to sort of like make their bed, right? And that in itself set them off for success, accomplish that little task, helps them set their thermostat, and before going to PT and all that good stuff, and set themselves up for success. And for some people, it's all about waking up, right, and sort of like just having a Zen mode, or just waking up and getting some exercise, or just some prayers, just saying thank God and stuff like that. So moving on, one thing that Coach Prime said is, I don't like to be presented with the problems of the day the first thing. I prefer to stay away from the nonsense in those few minutes. So I sort of like that approach to life, where when he gets in and in his process of setting his own thermostat, he just wants to be zen, right? Sort of just be one on one with himself, recollect his thoughts, meditate, even, and just say, hey, thank God for yet another day, and just be in his own personal space. And I think that's really important, even for mental health. So that's one thing I also said that I certainly uh, enjoy and resonate with. And then later on in that page, he said, I want peace. I want my peace. I want my joy. I want to decide what my word of the day is going to be. It just comes to me. And as we all know, we've probably all heard Coach Prime's word of the day posted on his page by is the media team at CU. So taking time to be able to do that is certainly important. And even for us, I think one thing that we can garnish from that is, maybe taking that time and just writing whatever it is we would like to accomplish that day down, right? So that way we sit down, we reflect, and we can, sort of like make sure we streamline our day. So that way, at the end of the day, we can hold ourselves accountable. The other, when you flip over to the other page, one thing that Coach Prime said in the book that I certainly enjoy also was setting your thermostat is about getting your mind right, and deciding on the priorities for your day. And we just talked about that in terms of like, hey, first thing in the morning, just whatever works for you, right? So for him, it's all about just taking that space and making sure no one disturbs him, right? So whatever works for you, right? Just making sure that you get your mind right and you're sort of like ready to take on the day. So when I read that, one thing that also resonates that he says a lot, you know, is in getting your mind right, it gives you the opportunity to make the main thing, right? So because in this chaotic world, right, where there's a lot of stuff on our to-do list, getting your mind right every morning just allows you to sort of like make sure, okay, today here are the tasks I need to accomplish. So I need to make sure I put the main thing as the main thing, so that way I'm not distracted about the tens and thousands of things that we all need to accomplish or feel like we need to accomplish on a daily basis. Uh, Further down, one thing that he also said that I enjoyed was you're trying to inspire someone in the morning, right? You're trying to help someone, touch somebody, bless somebody, right? And that's sort of like, um, because it's not just about you, right? So making sure that you're in the right mindset, right, allows you to be able to bless someone later on in the day, right? And in emphasizing more, he also talked about it's all about starting your day the right way and getting up with a purpose. And I think we've sort of like reinforced that, and it's important for us to just start our day with a purpose and sort of set push restart on the day, right? So that way, regardless of whatever happened the day before, you sort of are rejuvenated to build upon whatever it is that happened, and take the day by the horns, as they say, and achieve greater things that day. Later on, one thing that he also said that I sort of underlined was whatever the number of accomplishments you get done or not in a day can usually be based on how your day gets started. Right. Earlier we talked about the importance of just marking, writing down what we want to accomplish, right? So that way we can hold ourselves accountable later on that day. So I love that he also said that. And then later on in that page on page 18, he talked about just finding time for yourself. That's truly what it's all about, right? Just finding the time for yourself and finding that zen space, so that way you can just sort of recalibrate and just be one with yourself, right? um you know and moving on, the next topic in that chapter, where he talked about find a good routine, right? Having a routine is certainly a good thing. I referenced the military a while back, and just doing things repeatedly. And I believe there's a saying that once you do things repeatedly for over 21 days, then it becomes an habit, right? Sometimes it's easier said than done, but even if it's just like the minute things that you try to own in on and do repeatedly, if it's as little as you wake up and you just make your bed. So that way, when you come back after a long day, you have a very clean laid bed with the pillows fluffed to sort of relax on when you get back. Something as simple as that is certainly something that you can start with. And if it's to the point where you just say, hey, I'm just going to sit in meditation for 2 minutes, right? Even if I'm just going to be on the bed, right? Just sit up, close your eyes, and be one with yourself uh, for 2 minutes, so we can find different things to do repeatedly every day. So that way, we can sort of like find a good routine and set our own thermostat, and along that first paragraph where he said, we're repeatedly what we do, excellence then is not an act, but a habit, right? Right. So there's also a saying that goes, we're creatures of habit, right? So when it becomes an habit, it becomes a lot easier. But in order for it to become an habit, you sort of have to do it over and over and over again. You know. So the next thing along the line, so along that same line, one thing that he said that just resonated, and I think it's important for us to ponder on, is he said, I think a lot of people make the same mistake. The first thing they do is revisit yesterday. Folks need to stop replaying their low lights from the previous day. They're still mad over something that happened, something they cannot fix, or they're worried about something that's coming up tomorrow. What can I do about it tomorrow? And that itself is worthy of reflection, right? In terms of like, hey, yesterday is gone, right? If at the end of yesterday you reflected on yesterday, today is a new day, right? Let's see how we can build upon today, how we can tackle today and be positive, right? So even if we're building upon whatever it is we did yesterday, let's own in on the positive things, right? Learn the lessons that we need to learn, but own in on the positive things and go from there, right? So I think that's really important, and also try not to inhibit ourselves in focusing on tomorrow, right? So Coach Prime has this thing that he likes to say. It's like, be where your feet are, right? Be where your feet are. So meaning like be present, right? Be present here today. Don't worry about yesterday and don't dwell too much on tomorrow. Focus on today, maximize today, right? And you can set yourself up for success. So further along, he said, "Hey, listen to me. Yesterday is gone, right? Tomorrow is not here yet, right? You need to think about the day you're actually in, which is pretty much don't miss that day, which is pretty much what we just talked about. He also emphasized it by saying, just stay in the present, right, and establish a good routine." Right. So establishing a good routine is really important. So even if, regardless of whatever type of job you're doing, right, just establish that routine to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I get to work at so time. I'm gonna clock in, and once I clock in, because I still have a few minutes, so because I still have a few minutes, I'm gonna make sure I take a few extra minutes to myself. So that way I can be in a good mood. I can set my own timer start before I go in to work. Or so those are some of the things that we can incorporate in our daily lives. As we go about it, and just stay in the present, and I hopefully that will also set us up for success. And the other thing that he talked about along that same page is it's about showing up every day, right? Putting in the work, right? And being committed to the process consistently, right? So if you know about Coach Prime's player, Bentley, I believe his name on Instagram is King Bentley. He has this mantra and this brand that is called "Trust the Process." Right. So I think that's one thing that we all need to reflect on, and make sure you support Bentley at ttp.store, I believe, and purchase some Trust the Process merchandise from him. But I think it's important for each and every one of us to just trust the process, meaning trust what you're doing on a daily basis, because when you put in the work, it's definitely going to position you for success down the line. And along, flipping over to the next page, one thing that Coach Prime also talked about is all you can control is the moment, right? All you can control is the moment. That's why it's important for you to have a great routine, right? So I think for me, I would also like sort of like build upon that and say, in understanding that all you can control is the moment, right? You should also understand is that all you can control is yourself, right? So if you can control yourself and take accountability for yourself, then it's easy for you to build the routine because you can control yourself, right? And also it's easy for you to control your reaction, right? Uh, in that particular moment, regardless of whatever it is you're faced with, right? So trust the process, and also control. All you can control is the moment. You know, and then in along with what we're talking about in terms of routine, he talked about, now here's the deal about routine, right? You better commit to it, right? So commitment is key, right? And also he later talked about and sort of like touched about, the individuals out there that are known to be perfectionists, right? Just letting us know that, hey, it's not about being a perfectionist, right? This is not about being perfect, right? It's about being consistent and consistently doing something to move forward, right? So every day is a growth day, right? Just doing something positively to move yourself forward. So the other subtopic in chapter 2 that we're going to talk about also is either you're a believer or a believe, right? So let's sort of reflect on that. Either you're a believer or a believe, right? When I first read that, I was like, wait, what in the world does he mean? I understood the first part of it where it was either you're a believer, it was the or a believe that I was like, let me take a deep dive and see what he means by that. So when he sort of gave us sort of his definition of what he meant, where he said, when you're a believer, you're the creator of your own destiny. To me, that makes sense. You're a believer, you're creator of your own destiny, right? And when I read that, it reminded me of the poem Invictus, right? It's a poem that I always love, right? And towards the end of that poem, it goes, I am the captain of my soul. I'm the master of my fate, the captain of my soul, I believe. Do not quote me on that, but if you've never heard of it, you should look it up. Invictus. I certainly reminded me of that in terms of like you're the creator of your own destiny. Um, and along that line, he also said, whatever you believe, that's what you are. Right. So I think that's his definition of a belief, right? So whatever you believe, that's what you are. So if you believe you're going to be great, that's what you're going to work towards, being great, right? If you believe that you're going to be mediocre, right, then that's what you work towards, right? And it's sort of like a mindset, right? It's a mindset shift, right? So if you develop the right mindset, right, and you set your own thermostat, you put in the work, you trust the process, right, and you have this belief that you control your own destiny, then you're already on the route to success. So that's definitely something that I resonated with. And so along that, it's he also explained that what he meant by what's a belief, right? So a belief is like what your mom and dad or neighbor or someone in your circle told you, right? What they told you about yourself, right? So some of us might have been in a situation whereby any individual might have, sort of based on their perception of us, I said, hey, this is what they think you're going to accomplish, right? But like he said, if you're a believer and you understand that you're the creator of your own destiny, right? So you need to shake off whatever those individuals might have said to you, so that way you're not a belief, right? And you can start acting like a believer, right? Because being a believer, it definitely sets you up for success, right? Because you're gonna put in the work, right? And later on along that line, he said nobody was going to decide who I really was except me, right? And that's the attribute of a believer, right? You control your own destiny, right? And he later said, "You're worthy. You deserve the best," right? And later on, he said, um, that's what you must do, become a believer. That way, you get to decide who you really are, right? So, regardless of whatever it is you're faced with at this time, and as you're viewing this, just tell to yourself, say it to yourself, and say it along with me: I am a believer. I am a believer. Once again, I am a believer. And let's say it once again: I am a believer and I'm the creator of my own destiny, right? So, even if that's one of the things that you want to say every morning to yourself, so that way you start to build that routine of saying it every day, that it could be as simple as that, right? Just saying, I am a believer and I control my own destiny, right? And set your own thermostat and go into the world and kick blank. The other subtopic here is feeding your mind, right? As you're joining us today, that's one thing we're definitely doing. We're reading, we're feeding our mind, and having that analysis and conversation every week, right? So you're already taking the right step towards feeding your mind. Coach Prime said, just like it's important to fuel your body in a proper way, it is vital to feed your mind, right? So when you're strolling on Instagram, on social media, whatever social media platform, make sure you're feeding your mind the right things, right? Make sure you're learning, you're improving yourself, you're stimulating your mind in a positive way, right? So that's certainly important. Because in some cases, whatever you feed your mind can also influence your thermostat, you know, and throw you off course, if you've already set a very good thermostat at the beginning, right? So along that line, if there's something I said, reading is like a mental exercise for the brain, right? Like I said, we're already doing it. So if you're joining us every week, that means you're mentally exercising your brain every week as you're reading Coach Prime's book chapter by chapter and joining us every week, right? So one thing I also reference here is also for those individuals that are interested in journaling, right? Journaling is a cool way to help you get your thoughts down on paper. So, if you prefer that method, make sure you grab a pen and a paper and just write, reflect. It doesn't have to make sense to the world. It just has to make sense to you. Okay, write about anything, right? It could be as obscure in nature as God knows what. Just write and just dump it down and just say, hey, you know what, this is what's on my mind today, right? And and hopefully it's something that is positive and not negative or not harmful to anyone, but just write and dump those thoughts down, if that you feel like that's a good way. And for some people that don't like journaling, sometimes just voice journaling, right? Rather than writing it down, just give a voice memo on your phone and just record and say, hey, today is this is what I'm thinking about today. And just you can do a voice journal that way. So that's basically it. So for chapter two, as we're reflecting on how to set our own thermostat, and as we know, in this book, Coach Prime always gives us his own takeaways at the end of each chapter. So I'd just like to remind us and just close out chapter two with reminding us that Coach Prime's takeaways are: one, the morning is when you set the temperature for the day, right? The other one, in doing so, you need to learn how to set your own thermostats, put yourself in a position to win from the beginning by fueling your body and fueling your mind. The second one is you should establish a good morning routine, right? Now, it won't be that easy, right? I'm talking about discipline, right? You would have to be intentional with your time, right? Does it seem hard? Set yourself some goals, then break them into manageable tasks, right? The other one, the third one is this one is really, he said this one is really important. Either you're a believer or a believe, right? When you're a believer, you're the creator of your own destiny, right? There's nothing you cannot accomplish, right? When you believe, right? That's what people say, right? That's what society projects on you, right? It's the stereotype some people can never escape. To reach your potential, you need to be a believer, right? So the fourth one is don't buy into all the false thoughts and crazy mental images that runs through your mind, right? If you're not careful, they can become reality, right? Whether it's through music, reading podcasts, or journaling, you can fill your head with positive thoughts and the possibility, uh, 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 um, and possibility instead of dwelling on your thoughts, right? The fifth one, and in conclusion, is to jumpstart any morning you've got to do something, right? And what he means by that, in any forward movement, will give you positive momentum and end inertia. So make that a priority. Remember, well begun is half done. Or, like the old saying goes, the smallest deed is greater than the grandest intention, right? You need to dream, but at some point, you've just got to do it. Wow. I'm going to repeat that. You need to dream, but at some point, you've just got to do, right? And let's take the advice and the slogan of Nike and end chapter 2 with that, right? Just do it, right? Just do it. Set your thermostat, and just do it, right? So thank you very much for joining us yet again for chapter 2. And join us again on Friday as we take a deep dive into chapter 3. But until then, if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe and type I subscribe at the bottom in the comments, and we'll be sure to engage with you. Until next time, stay safe, set your thermostat, and remember, just do it. So long. Bye bye.